Alrighty, this one's called New York versus Oz, which means Australia. It's an abbreviated version. The same as NY means New York. Like the Duke of York. Who was that? Hang on a second. Who was the recently ousted Duke of... That means who is the new Duke of York? Is the new Duke of York Donald Trump? Probably, yeah. No, that makes sense. So the new Duke of York is Donald Trump. He's got some fucking blow-in fucking communist mayor trying to run some type of socialist uprising while the president goes and sorts the world. Come on now. This is fucking stupid. As I look out on this fine West Australian day and contemplate exactly how much this monstrous entity known as New York, how much fucking trouble it's caused the beautiful nation of Australia. Now, I'm not one to destroy property, especially if it's not mine, but I just have to fucking do this in this case here, because from this day forward, the independent region known as fucking New York City is well and truly banished from any fucking international fucking projection of any type of financial delusionary concepts herein, thereafter, etc., in perpetuity from this day forth in all the British Empire. The entity formerly known as New York City will be disgraced and cut down and redistributed to reimburse and recoup costs inflicted therein by all financial floating entities concurrent with international financial practices therein, etc., in perpetuity for as long as I may live. That's what I'd be saying, something like that. That's the fucking fetid remains of this baseball cap fucking nonsense. Yeah. I think every child out there in Australia has enough fucking baseball caps. And it's going to be not really an upstanding thing to present your fucking child as some type of White Sox, New York Yankee fucking baseball playing, cocksucking fucking manipulation, Epstein loving fucking pedophile. You know what I mean? It's no longer in good taste to gather up for your young child a collection of fucking baseball caps from all the men you conquer in our land and dispossess and prevent from establishing a glorious federal nation known as Australia. Australians don't play baseball. We don't like baseball. We don't like New Yorkers. You know what I mean? These regions, New York is a tiny little fucking island. It's a Manhattan, is what it was called. It was exchanged for a couple of beads to the traditional owners of that region, and then it has been an experiment in human fucking ridiculousness as they first project three-dimensionally to create a three-dimensional fucking conceptual prison, and then they, harness the telephonic age to project their fucking manipulative fucking gobbledygook around the world, their financial fucking manipulation. They're terrorists of the first order. And Australia now being a representative of the beautiful kingdom of Kent, well, we're going to responsibly develop the entire place in harmony with the traditional owners. We're not going to exchange beads like the Dutch did, or fucking whatever it was, tobacco, or no, it wasn't tobacco. It was some type of Dutch fucking conspiracy. And no, we're not going to do that. We're going to slowly but surely build a nation here that will be the foundation of the British Empire into the future. We've well and truly disgraced this prince and his New York mafia-like fucking construction. We've won over the true, if there was a king of New York, it's Donald Trump. There's no doubt, there should be no doubt in anyone's minds. We've won him over and re-established his connection beautifully with Great Britain, with Scotland, with the United Kingdom, with the British Empire. Obviously not as some type of floating puppet, but as a true patriot to both regions. He's had to be scrappy. He's had to do what he can to combat a digital projected nonsense fucking reality with his foundations, firmly in construction and actual real estate development, all these things. To go into the political arena, another leap of faith, to scrap it with a basically computerized commercial corporate structure of fucking absolute bullshit, only to have on what should be on his homecoming a fucking squatting fucking little Muslim try and put his flag up on the Empire State Building. I don't think so. I would suggest that New York needs a fucking rebrand, and it needs a rebrand with a Scottish flair. I would suggest it's time for the Trump family to well and truly put their stamp on the city that they changed and that they defended and that they protected, and that they will lead the new beginnings of, and I would call it something Scottish, a bit like Perth. A bit like Perth is a Scottish name. Well and truly displaying the United Kingdom, the Great Britain legacy, the conflict ever running from north to south on that island and on all land that we have speculated on. This same conflict running through my very veins. Sometimes this balance between opposing forces is exactly the thing you need to create stability. We've seen the height of York. And let's not forget that these names report. This is a place. This is a place in England. It has a beautiful, diverse history. It has projected well beyond its boundaries. It has elevated individuals to the height of international notoriety, only to expose those individuals as fucking maggots. So now when anyone looks forward and they think of the word New York, the name New York, they think of fucking a pair of scissors cutting through its once spotless reputation. And they now think of the figures at play in this largest exposure of the upper echelons of corruption and abuse and slavery and misconduct and financial manipulation, all these things. And when you think of New York, you no longer think of Donald Trump. You think of Jeffrey Epstein, Andrew. I won't even say his last names. You think of projected fucking financial cons. You think of bloated fucking cocaine-fueled fucking atrocity. And we now put it to rest, because I will not have that region reflecting badly the beautiful region of York, whose history is more noble and virtuous. This is the reason why a prince has removed his title. That region, that York, not empires, but the kingdoms have grown an entire British Empire was built around that place. That's why it was a very strong brand name to hold the focal point of this region of Manhattan, but no longer. Into the new future, it will be called whatever Donald Trump decides, inspired by the Scottish homeland of his mother. Everything we do as humans is all symbolic. And there's almost like a reaction to think that that makes it not important. It does. It's frivolous. No, it's very important. We use symbology because otherwise we need to micromanage and use control. Symbols and things like this, they invoke a spirit of a place. They invoke voluntary contribution and commitment and loyalty and dedication rather than control. Micromanaged individual control, like I've been subject to for the last 3 years and counting, as I'm ushered round by a bloated bureaucratic fucking justice, political infrastructure, resources sector, or entire state, really, entire country. You know, unbeknownst to them, exposing their absolute incompetence. But I just consider it was just like the ghost train, you know, at the Royal Show. You jump on the ghost train. I actually remember jumping on the ghost train at the Royal Show and getting felt up by a furry hand. That used to be a job. I'd say my mum's boyfriend would be putting his hand up for that job, like he put his hand up to drive the children around in the train. I'm sure he'd love to put on a furry hand and feel up your fucking children in a ghost train. But that type of thing doesn't take place in the Royal Show. Not under the spotlight. It's hidden in the back alleys of some fucking carnival, carny, fucking sideshow alley projection of absolute bullshit. And that's what I want you to think about when you think of New York City. Before you put a New York City Yankees fucking hat on your child in Australia, I want you to think about that. I want you to think about some grubby fucking pedophile putting a furry hand on and groping your child in a fucking ghost train. That's what New York City is. New York, concrete shithole where dreams are destroyed and empires corrupted. Now you're in New York, as hour by hour your towers crumble and you can see Allah in plain sight as he shows you the true depth of your misdirected loyalties. Allah means God in Arabic. Are you Arabic? Is it called New Babylon, New Arabia, New fucking no? It's called New fucking York, or it was called New York. And now all these things fall into disgrace. The word Allah falls into disgrace as building by building falls down, and the true believers of their fucking Muslim fucking delusion probably sing from the rooftops and relish in the moment as their city fucking crumbles. It's a death cult. Not a good neighborhood to fucking, to set up a family in. But if there's one thing for certain, we will not be using the word that starts with Y as we explain the destruction of this. We will call it Babylon. That is what it has always been. And as it falls and crumbles and burns, we will refer to it as Babylon. The only York I ever known of is the one that is approximately, an hour and a half inland here. My auntie, owns a property there. That is York. There is a York in England. That is York. There is no New York. There was a New York. Now there is a pile of rubble. Well, very soon there'll be a pile of rubble. We can't be a conflicting empire. Can we? We can't send these. I don't want a New York. We have a perfectly good one. We can have another York. And while you fucking wander down this, this linguistic fucking road, can anyone tell me where the original Zealand is? Where's Zealand? Because God knows why there's a new one. What happened to the old one? Until we establish exactly what happened to the old Zealand, I don't want to do anything. The thing is with Englishmen is we take our names very seriously. The names of our surnames, our ancestry, our connection to country, a symbolic association with place, also held by names. Our scholars and leaders, religious leaders and scientists and inventors and conquerors and explorers, their names echo throughout our civilization and through our empire in perpetual celebration of these markers. So we also take it very seriously when they're disgraced. And we utilize and we focus and we hit our point, we hit our mark like a trained Russian ballerina. We place our foot on the X, on the spot, perfectly in synchronicity with the beautifully played symphony that we hear around us. And in the moment that this place falls, we make sure that it isn't referred to as New York. If you want to think of the heyday of New York, you can think of that English spirit projecting into the heavens. You can think of the Empire State Building, which will be protected, of course. You can even think of Trump Tower. A beautiful display of Scottish resilience within the English-labelled township of overcoming a dissociated projection of English lunacy and conquering it with Highlander spirit. You can think of that. But as it falls, you call it Babylon. As it burns, you call it Babylon. As its Persian conquerors relish in their own self-destruction, wishing upon their paradise in the afterlife, you call it Babylon. You don't call it York.